Yeah. Fire in the eyes. Rain from the spirit. Podcast worldwide. Share it when you're hearing. Fire, rain.
What's going on,
Fire,
everybody?
rain.
We
I
are
came from the
back
bottom with a plan
with
and some
another
pain.
episode.
Now
It's
I'm
the
stacking
Fire
purpose.
and
You
Rain
just stack the
podcast,
change.
and this is like the last episode of the Rated R series, man. What y'all think so far? I liked it. I think it was pretty rich.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you're gonna add like applause or something there with sound effects. So I was like trying to do something.
Yeah. So we are back. My name is Kev Rosen. I'm here with Josiah Centeno,
Yo,
and
yo.
we are on our final episode of the Rated R series, and we're excited to get through a whole series with y'all, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. When you first put this idea out to me, I wasn't sure how this was gonna go, and we've been trying to like brainstorm about different ideas. So it's been cool because it's coming together, even though we didn't like make it too rigid. And I got a lot of really good feedback from our last episode
Yeah.
on Forged by Fire.
Absolutely, man. I think a lot of people were like touched by that story. And the thing that I like about it the most is we could just kind of be authentic and it's not forced and we don't got to be like reading through the hermeneutics of the Bible and the, iron skepticer or whatever. I don't even
I
know
don't
what
even
I'm
know what you're
saying.
saying.
But yeah, we just real talk, bro. We just sit at the table and talk like we do. You know what I mean?
Right,
That's what makes
right.
it authentic.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I
today's
like that about it.
episode, let them know a little bit about what we're going to be talking about this in this episode. Something that's near and dear and passionate for the both of us. Let them know.
Yeah, so I think we did this in our first like trailer or introduction to all the things that we're gonna do. And we talked about how as friends we didn't want to just talk about what we've been through, but what we've been created for. And we talked about how our own personal mission in Christ can actually encourage other people in their mission for Christ. And so this episode specifically, after we talked about those really deep things, we wanted to talk about the rich things. We wanted to talk about the things that we're passionate about that make us come alive. And we couldn't think of anything better than to talk about missions and what that means to us
Yeah.
and what we feel God has called us for in that together.
Amen. So yeah, so tell them. I know that you've been to a lot of more nations than I do. In fact, for those of y'all who don't know, you do this full time, right?
Yeah, I've been full time. My first trip, missions trip, was in 2009. I stepped into full time ministry in 2012. And since then, I've been to 17 nations. And this coming Thursday, I go to Brazil. It'll be my 46th trip.
Wow, that's crazy. It's crazy to even think like when I look back at our life and everything that we've been through ever since we was young, it's crazy to think that you be a missionary, bro. Like I would have never thought of that, right?
Me
But in
either.
reality, and you know what? A missionary is just a title for just kind of like if you break it down to the simplicity, you're just kind of doing what God called you to do, right? You're just going when He calls you, and you're just going to different nations and being a blessing and sharing the gifts that He's already given you, right?
Yeah, the title missionary or the description of it is really just somebody who goes wherever God sends them. It's you're on a mission. Historically, that's just been the term that when someone goes from one nation to another, they go as a missionary, the mission field for the people that are there and all that stuff. But for me, the simplicity of it is being obedient to God wherever He sends you. And my dad has kind of like coined this phrase like missions across the street and around the world.
Wow, that's
And I'm
dope.
like, I was like, I love that. Like that's the missionary lifestyle. It's like it's as close as your neighbor. It's not that deep. Like we make it too much. So we feel unqualified sometimes for it, but it's really across the street and around the world. Wherever God sends you, it's really that simple.
So you actually have missions that run deep inside your family. Like you've been around missions. Your family has housed missionaries, correct? Our church
Yeah.
growing up has housed missionaries that kind of integrated into our church. So
Mhm.
you've been around missions for a very long time. But I think that it's crazy when I think back of like how intentional God is. Um, being that you've been around missions for so long, did it kind of prepare you for missions a little bit better, even if it was like unintentionally?
I don't know. I think if I think about that question, right? What you said about my parents housing missionaries, having missionary conferences at Bethel Temple, the church we grew up in, those things never really attracted me. Like I just didn't care. And I'm not sure if I was just numb to it. It was just, I was so used to it. I didn't really see the big deal. Um, but I don't think any of that really prepared me to do it or gave me a passion for it. It was really something that God had to do within me. And I think missionaries or anybody who talks to people about Jesus, there's something that God does in you that when he saves your soul, that makes you so passionate to share that with others. And I think that when he does that in us, it actually fuels us to go to anybody, but that also includes like maybe specific calls to places or people groups, which I think that happened later down in the line, even from when I was saved. So I think it was something that God developed when I became a Christian, not something that happened really when I grew up. Like I can't identify moments where like, wow, I would love to do that. It just really wasn't something on my radar, which is interesting to think about now.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy too because I think sometimes we don't even realize some of the seeds that get planted within us when we're young. Like, for example, like if you really think about it, if I was to ask you and catch you off guard and say, "Yo, what was your first missions trips?" I don't know if you would say it was when I was like 13. We went to Michigan. That was our
Michigan.
first missionary trip, right?
Right.
We were missionaries when we was young bulls, right? In youth groups.
Missionaries to Michigan.
Right. We did. So one of the missions that we did while we were over there is, I believe, you could correct me if I'm wrong because my memory don't be serving me right, but I think that we built like
A
ramps and
ramp.
stuff for disabled pastors and stuff who were working in the missions field. So we went over there and we just kind of helped build these ramps, but it was a fun thing for us. It was more like a foreign exchange program in a school. So we just went
Right.
because it was going to be fun. We didn't go over there for like the spiritual aspect, but we were still being a blessing to the body. We just didn't know the impact on it, right?
Right. Right. That's funny. Like our mission experience was in youth group. And they sent us to Grand Rapids or one of those places in Michigan.
Yeah,
And I
Hudson
can
or something.
remember, yeah, something. And I remember being there like, this place is cleaner than where we live. And how are we helping people? Like it didn't make sense to me. Like the streets were clean. Like
Yes.
I couldn't even fathom it. Like in my mind being from Philly, I was like, this place is way too clean. Like we're making it dirty by being here. And so but we did build ramps. I don't know if it was for pastors or people. I just remember
Yeah.
it being for families that were in need. I think we did some building projects. We took care of like we did like summer camps for
Mm.
kids and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I remember
um
that joint.
yeah, yeah. So that was our first like missionary experience. But I
Funny,
think those things were more fun than it was like
yeah,
maybe
for
a
us at that
missionary.
time. Yeah. A funny little story that goes with that, like how you were saying the streets were so clean, is I remember that young, being in a place that like we were born in, we were like raised in the city, so we went to this like field, and I can remember seeing all these like wildflowers, and there was this like young girl that I was like attracted to, so I picked all these flowers because I thought they were like special
Trying to be all
flowers. I
romantic.
was like, yo, these jaws are exotic, bro. We don't got these jaws in Philly, so I make like a bouquet, and I go to take them to this girl, and she's like, yo, you picked me a whole bunch of weeds, right? And I was like, yo, my bad. I thought that I was picking her some exotics, but I ended up picking her some weeds. But that
Yeah,
was that was how it was.
we were like, we never seen any weed like this. Not this colorful.
Not this colorful. What type of weeds are these?
Right, right, right.
No, that's funny. But to your point, man, I think that even as young bulls, man, unintentionally God placed gave us a vision for something. So I think that like the thought, even if it's like, even if when I grew up and I was invited to my first missions trip, the thought wasn't foreign to me because of the seed that was planted into me. So it made sense. Like there
Yeah,
was
I
no
got you.
fear there, right? There was no like second guess, and it was like, hey, do you want to go on this missions trip? And in my head, I was like, yo, my brothers, they went to Peru through Bethel Temple. I went to did you go to Peru?
Nah,
Yo, that's crazy. So my brother went to South America. Then it was like me. We went to Michigan. So the thought of it
it
was
wasn't foreign.
right. It was like, okay, this makes sense. And I just think that that's God being intentional. What was your first like international missions trip? I'll say it like that.
Yeah, my first international overseas trip was Nicaragua
Mm,
in 2009, and that trip that's when I was saved. So I was like 2 years saved. I got saved in 2007, and when I was like saved, it was just radical. So I wanted to do anything that God told me to do, and I remember the trip was kind of being like opened up to the church when we were in Philly from a church that was leading it in Lancaster, and I remember being in this like supernatural experience with Pastor Andre from Philly, and we went to Camp Meadowland. Remember Camp Meadowland?
hmm
So we went
Yes.
to Camp Meadowland together, just me and him. We were praying. God gave me a vision, gave him one, and it kind of like came together where God specifically told me, "I want you to go on this trip."
Mm,
So I went, and God had already been speaking to me about it. So when I went there, it was like around swine flu. Like we get off the plane, like they got us in thermal cameras and stuff like that. It
for
was just like a
real.
weird experience. They didn't want to let me in the country because back then, remember how long my hair was? Like it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
down to my butt, and I hadn't slept in like 7 hours. So my eyes are bloodshot red. I got long hair down to my butt, and I looked like a hippie. So they didn't want to let me in the country. Um, but when I finally got in there, it was the most amazing experience. It wasn't easy. Like I went through a lot of spiritual warfare. I didn't sleep really. God was like waking
Mm,
me up at like 2 or 3 in the morning, just praying for the team. But then I felt rested, so that was all new to me. The spiritual warfare was definitely new to me, not in the sense of like being in it, but being in it with specific things, like specific spirits. And that's where I saw my first healing miracle. So it radically transformed me, man. Like I remember coming back and being wrecked by the amount of poverty. Because we come
mm.
from Philly, so
Yeah,
we've seen poor. Like I've slept in houses where roaches are crawling on me. So
for
like
sure.
poor, but when there's like poverty that like even the animals are like you see their
Skinny.
ribs and
Yeah.
stuff, like it was a different type of poor.
Mm,
And the place we stayed at in Nicaragua was almost like it was like a compound. So it was almost like camouflage poverty and some sense of beauty to make people want to come here.
yeah.
And it was just like it was just these really stark contrasts of life here and life there that
Mm,
I know I needed God to show me that to transform my way of thinking and living, and my faith, man. When I saw that miracle, because like you said, missions wasn't foreign, but the power of God
mm,
and the things that
mm.
I was experiencing
That's right.
on the mission field, that was all foreign. So that was my like initiation or my like thrust into the mission field real
Yeah.
experience. And it wrecked me in a good way.
Yeah. It
Um,
it it literally like transform like it changes your mentality on life. I mean, it really does make a huge impact. I thought while you were saying that something crazy that I thought is like if you think of some of the streets in Philadelphia, like let's not even talk about the hoods of Philadelphia. Let's talk about like walking down the street during in Rittinghouse Square in
Mm,
central Philadelphia. It might be dark, it might look scary, it might look gloomy, and and you're surrounded by rich people. And the contrast, like you said, like when you're over there, you're like, yo, I must be in heaven. Like the temperature is right, the flowers are exotic. And I'm not talking about no weeds. I'm talking about like exotic birds flying around. There's a whole bunch of like beauty, like mountain views and volcanic views and stuff, and the water's flowing. Yet there's so much poverty. And I think that's so crazy. It's like the scenery is opposite, but the people, the culture is like,
right.
whoa, it's a huge difference. But I did want to touch on one thing about the poverty part, right? What were some things that you had to be careful with when you dealt with the poverty that was over there coming back home, like especially to your children, to your family? What type of mindsets were you careful of not to bring back into the States?
I don't know how well I did on my first trip, but I remember coming back from my first trip, not wanting to sleep on my bed, um, being mindful of like water because like the water pressure over there was like zero, and when it ran out, it ran out. Um, so just I think one thing was like I went not overboard, but I think I needed to change.
Mm,
And when you're back in your comfort zone or what's familiar, you can easily fall back into the mode of doing everything the same.
yeah.
And I had such an experience that I couldn't do that. So yeah, so I remember coming back and having to like temper that, having to really um understand that me having an experience didn't mean anybody else had that. And I
Right.
couldn't force that experience or mindset that was changing in me. I couldn't really force it on nobody else. I had to learn how to live different. I could talk about it, I can like make some adjustments, but it really had to be a personal conviction before it could become more than that for
But
other people around me.
But the thing is, I don't
Um,
know if they understand what you've seen because you're being a little bit
right,
vague, right? Explain
right.
to them like the depths of poverty that you witnessed.
Yeah, I think for me the depths of poverty was like even on the compound we stayed at, like they had somebody come to cut the grass, and this might sound like funny, but you could tell that they got paid maybe by the hour. Like so taking longer was more beneficial to them. So this guy that was cutting the grass was literally cutting it with like children's scissors.
Mm,
And I was like, is this real? Like what is happening? I couldn't make sense of it until I really thought about it.
yeah.
And I think that's what it takes. Like it was the animals were poor, like the animals were starving.
Mm,
Um, People didn't have, and I think sometimes we think, oh, poor people that don't have what they lacked in maybe material things, they not overcompensated, but they were rich in a different way. They were rich in faith in a
faith.
different way.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't things to distract them like distract us.
Mm,
And so it just I don't know, being in other places, other countries, if we allow it to, if we have the right heart, will actually be eye opening and heart softening,
mm,
really teaching us life lessons that we should be so grateful where we're from. Like in America, we should be super grateful.
yeah.
And that's really what I came to the conclusion of. Like being back, it wasn't about being like, oh, I need to live like that. It was no longer taking it for granted, and no longer letting it distract me.
Yeah.
I think that's the lesson that I came away with. That was the most
Mm.
important.
So I have not been to 47 different places. I've been to three different places, and one of them was inside the United States. It was a domestic missions, which was Michigan. I've
Mhm.
been to Guatemala and then recently to Colombia. So I've been to Guatemala about 5 times. So
Mhm.
the one thing that I remember, like where poverty really hit me, was like seeing young kids on the street, like carrying bundles of wood at really early in the morning. So they were
Right.
probably like preparing to make their what are they called, like the empanada things, like the maize,
Yeah, some
whatever they
type of food.
Yeah, they were kind of preparing to make them Johns. So they would, like, everywhere you go in Guatemala, everywhere I gone, my experience was that it smells like a campfire because everyone is cooking out of like wood burning stoves. So it smells like a
Mhm.
almost like a campsite everywhere you go. As you're riding down the streets, right? The streets have like a lot of holes in them. They're like not really good. So you got to keep like swerving holes, and I'm not talking about like potholes like that we complain about in North Philly
Oh,
or
wow.
whatever. I'm talking about like boom, like
Sinkholes.
you're gonna like potholes, right? So there's certain places where you get to where you're kind of riding slow, maybe a little bit of traffic, and these little kids they start whistling, then they tell you like hold up, hold up, hold up, a pothole, like they're like blowing their whistle, and as you get up to it, they stop your car and then they start to shovel dirt into the hole, right? And when they do that, they kind of like expect for you to give them money. It's like their way of panhandling a little bit. So they're like, yeah, look, like I just filled that hole for you. Hook me up with a little bit of money, right?
Mhm.
So the crazy part though is as soon as you go over that little hole and you look out the back window, they're
They're
digging it out.
shoveling it.
They're taking the
Uh,
dirt out of it so that they could do it again and again and again. So I thought that was like interesting to me, as
yeah,
far as
finding
missions.
ways to make money.
Yeah, finding way the hustle, the hustle over there is real. Soon as you get out of the plane, there's people trying to sell you little things and little items. But there's something that you said that really hit me, right? You said that they're rich in other ways, specifically rich in faith, right? Tell
Mhm.
me some experiences that you had in the missions field where you really had that sense of like, yo, man, we don't got it right or we got it backwards, when you started to feel like that in any of your missions trips.
Yeah, two examples come to mind like right away. One would be when I was in India, and the other was when I was in Honduras, and I was in our team was in like a one of the big prisons there, and so both of them kind of like weaved together, and it was all around like worship. Um, and so in the Honduran prison, it was like it was like a little city. So basically, we go and you give them your passport at the gate when you're coming into the prison, and they give you like a domino piece. And with that domino piece is like collateral. So, when you come out, and so we get this piece, and then they're like, all right, you can go in. The
Mm,
guards don't go in with you. So you're just there. And it's like a little city, little town full of people who are in prison. And they made it like that so that family members could come in and out. Some can stay, things like that. So they made it like a little town. So they're
mm,
like the hustle, like they're making things inside, they're sending it to their family, they're earning money. It was it was like a little world.
mm,
And so I remember being like, yo, this is like being in a bad neighborhood, but you can't get out. Like
mm.
if something goes wrong, you're not getting out alive, and the guards aren't there to protect you.
Right.
So my Philly instinct is like, I gotta watch from every corner in this little town because anything could pop off. And there's like women on our team. It was just a different environment. So that instinct in me, from what I learned growing up in the city, started to kick in, and I had to like shove that thing, push it away because
Mm,
it was involving fear. So I started praying, and then we eventually get to like they have a church in there, pastor, a church in the prison. So that's where we're going, and they turn like the basketball, court into a like a chapel.
yeah.
I remember being in there, and there was this guy. He was cleaning the stage area, the platform, the altar, whatever people want to call it. And I was like, wow. But then I looked over and I recognized he had no legs.
Mm,
This guy was cleaning. I thought he was cleaning it on his knees, and he wasn't cleaning it. Like he was cleaning it on his stubs. And
mm,
I was just like, "Yo, like who serves? Who serves with no legs?" It messed with me. I was like, "Some people don't want to serve at all. You got to talk them into it. You got to bribe them." And it's
mm,
like this guy is serving in prison with no legs, and he was happy. Like he was grateful to do it, and
mm,
it struck me. And then I remember when worship started, music and all of that. This guy was waving flags. He was worshiping the Lord with like holding nothing back. And if you know anything about South Central America worship, like it's hot there already, but they are going in. They're going in for like an hour straight with
Yeah.
all their strength, all their energy, worshiping God. And I was like, this guy, he first he taught me about like that servanthood and then worship. That ties into the India one. We went to a leper colony, and I never been to a leper colony, so I got all these ideas of what that means, and I'm
Never been
thinking
to
in
one
my
of
mind,
those.
yeah, I'm like, I've never been to that. So, you know, the Bible talks about leprosy, and I was thinking about Jesus and touching the leper, and you got to stay 6 cubits away, and if you touch it, it's infectious, and all this stuff. And the pastor who did not have leprosy moved into that community to pastor them. And when you're around leprosy longer, you can get it. Some people don't die right away. It's just this is how it was. So the pastor who didn't have leprosy sacrificed his life because they needed a pastor and died for this community, this leper community.
Wow.
Right? So that's one, the sacrifice of being a missionary. Like he was a missionary to a leper colony and lost his life for it. So
Wow.
we're there. And then we're in this service knowing that, and we're gonna preach. And I'm like, what do you say to people? Like, honestly, when you think about it, what do you say to lepers, a leper colony who loves Jesus? Like, what are you gonna say? Like, what? It just makes it seem like if we really believe, like, people say the American gospel, like a watered down, super cliche, catchy, buzzwords, all that stuff. Like, what do you really say to people who are dying, right? And so I just remember being there, being in this experience and wondering all of that, like all of that's going in my mind. And then the worship starts and people are singing, and I'm just like thinking and talking to God about all this stuff because I want to be honest with Him about what do I really have to offer, like. And honestly, we don't have anything to offer but Jesus. Like Christ is, and the good news is all we have. And so I'm thinking about that and appreciating him, grateful to be there, but wondering like, how does this all work? And so I remember looking into the congregation of people, and there was this woman, and I still have the picture. There's this woman with leprosy, and she has her hands up in worship, and some of her fingers and parts of her nose are missing as she's worshiping. She has tears in her eyes, and she's giving everything to Jesus.
Wow. Well, hold that thought, right? I just want to tell the people, if you're liking so far the content, please go to our YouTube page, subscribe to the Fire and Rain podcast. This wraps up an episode of the Fire and Rain, and the reason why we're ending this at around 30 minutes is because we're gonna hit you with 2 episodes. So please like and subscribe. Follow our page. Follow us on Instagram, the Fire and Rain podcast. We'll see y'all next week. So hold on, because there's gonna be more stories about these missions trips, and we're really gonna get into the healing aspect of it, the miracles that we've seen, the amazing things that we've seen, and we're gonna make this a 2-part episode. So check us out next week, Fire and Rain. Yo, pray us out, bro.
All right. Well, God, I pray that you would be with us as we learn to listen to your voice. God, we pray that the experiences that we have with you would lead to a mission worth laying our life down for. God, I pray that you bless my brothers and sisters wherever they are in their faith. I pray that, God, what we are doing as their brothers serves them, encourages them, and strengthens them. And we pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen.